Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. All right then, let's head into today's conversation.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Today is going to be an interesting conversation. First, let me greet my dignitaries. Bishop Edem Danjo, how you doing? Please, the title is just for laughs. Okay, it's not official title, in case anyone is listening.
Ellie, you want to put me in trouble, eh?
Hey, Charlie, I was speaking of media sensationalism. I beg you, please, his congregation and his church members, please, so it's just vibes. But anyway, Adam, how you doing, man?
Charlie, I'm doing good, though. Yourself?
I'm great, my brother. I'm good.
Okay. That's for today. I'm coming to listen, though.
Oh, come to listen, saying.
The experts like Mimi and where's Papa Sam? And Charlie.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Papa Sam.
Yeah. So I'm here to listen to see what's up, because me too, I'm interested. I'm an interested party.
Mm-hmm. you can represent the citizens and then ask questions on their behalf.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shout outs to Pani. I see Pani in the audience. Best manager in the whole wide world. Shout outs to him. So today's conversation, Charlie, Adam, they said that was it on Twitter? It came up on Twitter. Someone sent it to me. I heard it was making the rounds. Was it my Joy Online tweeted? At least that's how I saw it. That SSNIT reserves will be depleted by 2036, something like that. So people were in fear and panic mode. People were scrambling. They didn't understand what was going on. They needed answers. I'm curious, how did you feel when you read that news?
I think I also, I wouldn't say I panicked, but I thought I had heard something similar, not too, a few years back, probably maybe about a year or two, when even the idea was floated to even increase the retirement age. I think the SSNIT Director General, the former one, he made mention of something like that. I think and even before then, there have been some actuary studies I've actually heard about, which have talked about something similar about the sustainability of SSNIT and all of those. So that discussion has been one that has been going on for a while, but it didn't seem alarming like the one that that was just shared recently, which this time around is not like coming from, it was like an international labor, is it not ILO report? So that seemed to give it some kind of, hey, okay, can we now pay attention to what is being said? Because we've been hearing it around, but probably we thought it was just not as serious, but we now hear that an international organization is reporting something like that. I mean, for me, I thought that is what raised my eyebrows, and I think it sent people into panic mode. Not to talk about the fact that this report also came out at a time where organized labor to have been up in arms with government about tier 2 that deductions that have not been credited to their trustees and things like that. I don't know if you followed that story too. So to have these news also coming at the same time, you can understand that the ordinary person will panic. And then also on the back of the fact that the debt exchange issues have also brought up talks about pension funds and things. So you see, if you think about the whole context under which this information came out, panic seems to be the reasonable avenue for the ordinary person who does not understand what is going on. And so I won't blame people for panicking. I will not judge anybody, because obviously nobody wants to work for 30 years, 35 years, or how many years, and then go on to retirement and then have nothing to show for it. So that's, for me, is the angle from which I saw everything when it first came out. Yeah.
I feel you. If after all these 30, 35 years of working, there's nothing that you can go and collect from SSNIT because it's collapsed. Yes, that's a very scary vision ahead of people. So I can imagine the media, the news raise panic. So I'm a bit conflicted in the sense that first thing when I saw this, I was like, oh boy, here the media goes again with their sensational headlines. But I must admit, after seeing SSNIT do the press conference, I listened to it a little over an hour. I was impressed. SSNIT is trying, no. SSNIT is trying, but as with all institutions in our dearly beloved country, we have very little trust for it. I'm not saying they do the best job, but when it comes to PR, at least I know that in the last couple of years, let me not use the word PR. I'll leave Dr. Paulina Crunchy to be the judge of PR. Let me talk about in terms of education. Let me correct myself. I'll stay in my lane. So in terms of educating the public, I think they are trying. They are trying to put the word out there, and I like the stance that they took to this situation. The first thing that they did in response was the press release. It didn't sit too well with with everyone. I know some of us had some choice words for SSNIT when we saw it, the press release, but they came out in a different form to explain things well. And I like that. I hope people go and listen to that press conference. In fact, Adam, if you can share it as a reply to the tweet for this space, it would be great so that people can go watch the full thing. But no worries, we would highlight some of the points that were mentioned in case people haven't listened. I did some small sound bites, 2 critical portions that explained some stuff. Maybe later we can share those to other people who don't want to listen to the whole thing. But I strongly encourage everyone to go and listen to the whole thing, read full context. So let's get into this matter at hand. This actuarial valuation report, like Adam mentioned, was conducted by the International Labour Organization, and it was as of the year 2020. So the end of 2020, they considered all the financial situation of SSNIT and its fund and came up with the actuarial report. Now, what's the actuarial valuation report? It talks about the assets and the liabilities for a pension fund. And a pension fund, like the one in the case of SSNIT, which is a defined benefit fund, that means as you are contributing, you can calculate what you will get at the end. Even if it's not the exact amount, you put in all your assumptions. If in the case of SSNIT, if my best earning years, my 3 best earning years are, let's say, gross 10,000 cedis a month, I can calculate to know depending on when I'm retiring. So there's some level of certainty. You compare that with your usual investments when you go and, apart from treasury bills and fixed income instruments, where they will tell you, well, it depends on how well the fund will do. So those are defined contribution. You know what you are contributing, but what you will get out of it at the end depends on how well the markets will do. So they do actuarial valuations on SSNIT every 3 years as is mandated, and for the year 2020, the ILO did it. And some of the assumptions, and they use a bunch of assumptions to come up with projections that, okay, based on these factors, this is how much your fund will last for. If people don't contribute, this is how long it will last for. Based on how much income you are earning, this is how long your income will be sufficient to make all the payments. I'll get into those specifics, but I just want to highlight the general overview of this report. It's a technical document, so anyone who chances upon it should ask for some explanation if they are not familiar with it. And that's what SSNIT came to do in the press conference. They did not even attempt to debunk anything in the report. They just explained that there were a couple of assumptions used, and if you change your assumptions, the results will change. And also explained certain terms. So let's see. the main assumption here, or the main, not assumption, the main claim of this news report is that SNIT will, or it's insinuating that SNIT will collapse in 12 years. They are saying that, the report is saying that starting in 2029, all the income that SNIT generates on their investments will not be sufficient to pay out all the distribution and expenses of SNIT. So that's the main contention. You know that SNIT makes monthly payments to people who've retired, and they also have their own organization to run, pay salaries, pay bills, all that stuff. So they are saying that the income that they earn from all their investments will, starting in 2029, will not be enough to fund. So at that point, then they will now have to start withdrawing on their reserves. Imagine you have a personal account. Maybe you have a treasury bill, right? You do a 91-day treasury bill, and every 3 months you have the option roll over with interest and principal, or redeem your interest, or redeem both interest and principal. But you decide that maybe you are retired, so what you do is you need that money, the interest from the investment that you've done. So your 1,000 cedis invested, every 3 months you take the interest portion, but you tell the bank to keep rolling over the principal. What they are saying is, like in Smith's case, if it were you, it'll get to a point where your expenses far exceed the interest that you'll be getting on that your treasury bill investment. So it'll get to a point where instead of just rolling over the principal, you'll get to a point where you start withdrawing. So the first quarter, you take your interest, but you see that it's not enough. Then what do? You say, okay, the 1,000 principal, you remove 50 cedis and give it to me. Next quarter, it comes. The principal is now 950. Say, well, it's still not enough. Give me another 50. So you see that your 1,000 will be depleting. So that's the idea behind the fact that what they are saying, that if it gets to a point where the income is not sufficient to cover the expenses and the payments, they will have to start withdrawing from the reserves. And when they start withdrawing from the reserves, by 2036, that's in 12 years' time, everything will finish. That's what we left. But, as SNIT explains, this actuarial valuation, it's all scenarios. If you've heard this term, scenario testing, what if this, what if that. And some of these terms we need to understand. So, the first term that we need to understand is this assumption that they are making to say that their reserves will be depleted by 2036. That ratio, what's the name of the ratio? He mentioned that it is
reserve ratio.
Reserve to expenditure ratio. Thank you, Mimi. Oh, in fact, I didn't greet me. Mimi, how are you?
I'm fine. And how are you doing?
I'm good. Please, yeah, pensions expert. So if I leave any gaps, feel free to jump in there as you just did. More of those. Thank you. Okay, so reserve to expenditure ratio. They are saying that when the ILO were in their report, or how they were preparing for their report, they were calculating it. They used various assumptions, and the key assumption behind this reserve to expenditure ratio is this: they take their expenses for the current year. So this is a 2020 report. So they take all the expenses for the year 2020, and they say, well, these are our reserves. The reserves at the end of 2020, and they say that if no one contributes anymore into SNIT, if they no more collect monthly pensions contributions from anybody again, how long can that fund last? How long can their money last for? It's like you and your job. If your manager stops paying your salary, your employer stops paying your salary, the money you have in your savings, how long can it last for? And they are saying that per that calculation, their reserves will hit zero in 2036. So that's the understanding. It's not that SNIT will collapse in 2036 and they don't have any money left. Because we all know realistically that what's going on the ground is that every month people are contributing. And in SNIT's defense, or as they've explained, they are increasing the number of people who are contributing. In fact, I have some information that I want to share. They said when you take the self-employed people, they have a program. It's called SEED. People who are self-employed, they are trying to get them to contribute to SNIT, because we know that mostly SNIT is the people who are employed in the formal sector. what the growth that they've seen in that seed program with the self-employed people is that as of March 2023, a year ago, they had 14,000 people enrolled. As of March 2024, this year, they have 80,000 people enrolled. So in the space of just a year, they've grown the membership of the seed program, the self-employed contributions, by 66,000 members. So these are some of the things that they are doing. They mentioned a couple of other measures that they are putting in place to make sure that the fund is still getting more contributions to keep it sustained. They talked about cleaning up ghost names so that if somebody is dead, they shouldn't keep paying the monthly SSNIT to the person, the monthly pension payments. They shouldn't be going to the person. And what they do is after age 72, when you, if you want to keep getting your pensions, or of course you want to keep getting your pensions, so after age 72, every year you have to go to SSNIT to let them know that you are still alive.
75.
Sorry, maybe come again?
75.
Okay. Then I must have misheard because in the press conference. Okay, let's see. So
No, sorry, the 72 was in the past, and the 247, but the 766 is 75.
Okay, so they've increased the age. Okay, so thank you. See, it's good to be in good company. They'll let you know when you're going astray before I give you people rat poison. Okay, so from age 75, every year you have to go and check. So if you have any family members who are above 75 and if they are complaining that they've not received their SSNIT pensions, ask them if they've gone to do the annual check-in with SSNITs. Maybe that's the reason why their money is not coming. And the idea behind that is they want to make sure that it's only people who are really alive who are getting the money. And they are keeping the money in a suspend account. It's not like you never get paid. If you come 2 years later to say, oh, I'm still alive and you've not paid me for 2 years, well, they'll pay you all the arrears that they owe you. So that is there. And they say, according to them, they've saved 519 million cedis by putting this check in place. Another thing is, yes, adding more people, so making sure that people are compliant. They are also pursuing prosecution. One of my lawyer friends tells me, see, the simplest case for him when he gets, it's not that it's the easiest or it's not that you win, but if SSNIT comes for you as an employer, SSNIT comes for you, there's no wiggle room in the law. If you owe, it's simple. So when SSNIT comes and they are prosecuting you, when they catch you like this, they are done. One of the organizations I'm a treasurer for, every year, SSNIT's relationship manager conducts an audit, provide all the pay slips for your employees so that we can calculate and make sure that you are paying the right amount, all that good stuff. So we do have people, at least I have experienced that SSNIT does their work. Shout outs to my people at SSNIT, head office in Pensions House. Anyway, so that's another thing that they are doing. And also for people who are behind, they try to negotiate. So if you don't want to be prosecuted, just go and negotiate coolly with the SSNIT people. They will try to figure out the best way for you to pay what you owe. And then there's our papa, the government. They owe a lot. They as they mentioned that as of now, the principal that they owe, the total contributions that they owe as of March 2024, is 2.6 billion cedis. But there are also penalties and interest on top of that because they've not been paying from back. So a lot of government workers complain about this. I think Paulina has mentioned this a couple of times, that government has not been making payments into SSNIT for their employees. Adam also just mentioned that tier 2, they are not making those contributions. We'll talk about the 3-tier pension scheme in a bit, right? And these are all payments that the government should be making, and SSNIT is negotiating with the government to make the payments, to agree on how much should be paid and all that. So basically, they are just trying to say that yes, the numbers that you are seeing, it's true. What they are saying, what ILO is saying is true, but they are reports and they are assumptions. But they want to offer an explanation so that you properly understand it. The 2036, the NEPA Basel, according to SSNIT, it's not going to happen because realistically, the people who are still there keep contributing, and the people who are, and there are more people that they are trying to enroll. So that's a bit about this. Mimi, do you want to add on to anything about this particular scenario before we touch on other aspects of it?
Yeah. So for me, this is not news. Maybe that's why I haven't read much into it, because I remember when I joined the industry, my boss had made reference to a similar report, and that was that the SSNIT was going to have these same problems by 2030. So I remember the guy who was given the reports mentioned that at any particular point, if they should do this assessment, they may get a different result. So at the time, it was 2030. And so when I saw 2036, I'm like, okay, it's improved. Like that's what was in my mind. And I remember also around that same time, I got to do a course. I think it's from Ireland, Pension Board course. And I remember there was this diagram of a bathtub, and the bathtub signifying how pensions work, that the tap is like the contributions which are being paid, the contributions being paid by the workers, and that is how those who are retiring are being paid. So it's not really, the money, the investments like what we would have with like tier 2 or tier 3 that is being paid to the retirees. It was more of contributions that were coming in. So once that money kept on coming in, once that money keeps on coming in, there shouldn't really be a challenge. It's also mentioned in the communique that, yes, they rely on investment gains, but that wasn't it. Also contributions coming in. So just like I learned those days. So I think the risk was more if people or the young ones like us are not contributing than what SSNIT does with the money. I don't know if it makes any sense.
Yeah.
And when you look at the data, the last time I did an assessment of, the situation in Ghana, we had about 11% of the labor force, only 11% of the labor force contributing towards SSNIT. And we know that as at the time in Ghana, we had 85% in the informal sector. So that's why I'm sure that they are attacking the informal sector, because a chunk of those who are not contributing are there. So if they are able to make progress with getting more of these people contributing to SSNIT, then there's more inflows to be able to meet, the obligations they have today. And I would say that it's very important that we trust the system for the system to be, what's the word? For it to work. I've forgotten the word. For it to work, because if we start questioning the system and we don't contribute, then that's when it's no longer, I've forgotten the word, but that's when it becomes a challenge. I don't know if you understand. But if we have more people contributing than people taking out, then we don't have a problem. And that's the risk. So what they can do is invest well to be able to reduce that risk. Another thing they can do is keep on educating, keep on letting people understand the benefits. And for me, if you know me, I'm a huge advocate for SSNIT, regardless of their challenges, because when you are in a space with a lot of people who don't have the financial muscles, insurance is very important, because if SSNIT wasn't there, I assure you, the situation in Ghana will be bad. So even though it's not a perfect system, I still advocate for SSNIT, because I still advocate for people to contribute to SSNIT, because at least you have something to survive. At least even if they are paying you, at least people I know, they are paying 4,000, at least you can do some shopping here and there, you can survive. So imagine those people without SSNIT. Some of them may have savings of maybe, let's say, 100,000. Okay, now this 100,000, if you are supposed to rely on this money, in no time it will be gone. I can assure you. Adding the DDP, haircut, and all those things, in no time it will be gone. So I'm a huge advocate for SNIT, and I'll say that we should, relax a bit, because the fear alone can cause future problems.
Mimi is an advocate and says, don't panic, trust in the system so that the system will work. I remember so many years ago, there was a minister of finance who said, look up the economy. This is different. This is more structural than political. But maybe very good points. I like the bathtub example you went to learn in school. So Mimi is an expert. She's very well read. Okay. So I want to touch on some of those key thoughts that Mimi shared, those facts. But one of the things about trusting the system is this. I hear as people are complaining about SNIT, let me issue this disclaimer. I don't think they are doing that. I don't think they are the best company in the world or the best organization in the world. I don't think they are the best investment managers in the world. But I think it's not so bad that we will complain. There's always room for improvement, right? So we can work on it, we can improve it, but it's not yet a time for doom and gloom. But looking at the structures that we have, the first thing you need to think about is SNIT is legally mandated. Your SNIT contributions are legally mandated. They are like taxes. You have to comply. You don't really have a choice. No, it's not you don't have a choice. You have to comply. And if you are not complying, it's just a matter of time before the law gets to you. They are improving their systems. They've gone digital how many years ago? They are expanding the net. So start thinking about paying. All right. So that's one thing. For people who say I'd rather not contribute to the SNIT and then invest my own money in treasury bill and be better off. Now, the SNIT and pensions in general, I think it's good at this point for us to understand how these things generally work. What is the structure? They are partially funded by design. So Mimi was explaining the contributions pay for the payment. So every month as you are working and you are contributing into the fund, that money will be used to pay out the people who are on retirement and they need their monthly pensions. It's also seen as a tax on generations. So we are working right now, we've agreed, we've all come together through the legal structure to say, okay, we will take care of the old people now so that when we are old, the younger people will take care of us. It's an intergenerational promise across generations. Okay. So that's just how the system works. And like Mimi was saying, we have to trust it. And in Ghana's situation where we are starting from a small base, at least there's some opportunity. Mimi was giving us the numbers about how much bigger the formal sector is than how much bigger the informal sector is than the formal sector. And now SNIT is making efforts to rope in the informal sector. So there's opportunity for growth. Africa has a younger population. I think Ghana definitely has a younger population. So there's opportunity that in future we would still have the people who are working to be funding the people who are retired. That's the promise. Also, we said it's partially funded, but there is a sponsor, and the government is the sponsor. It works in such a way that if there are gaps, then the government would step in. So it comes back to this social construct that says, okay, we want the government to take care of us, just as we want them to take care of infrastructure like roads, electricity, water, and all that. One of the things we care about is our future. We don't want to work forever. So government, how are you going to take care of us? And then the government devised this structure to say, okay, you contribute. If there's a gap, I'll plug in the gap. And that's how it works around the world. It's not just a Ghanaian phenomenon. It works around the world like that. So if you are hearing these things, there's nothing strange, and I would encourage people to read up on it again. I think we've shared the link. Yep, Adam has shared the link in a reply to our space. Go watch the video, and you would learn some more in depth about how SNIT explained things to you. So at least, even though the media started with some sensationalism, they've brought us an opportunity to learn and educate ourselves on this. For questions, what we would like to do, if you have any question, can you just type in your question as either as a reply or a DM so that we can address it in our conversation, just to make things flow faster. All right. As individuals, the next thing I would want us to think about is, so we are hearing these things, right? We are hearing them. So what should we do? We can't go say that, okay, I don't like the way SSNIT is managing it, so I'm going to fire the investment managers, But what can we as individuals do? On Money Convos, we're always trying to think about you as an individual, how you can improve yourself, regardless of the economic situation that you are in. So at this point, we would like you to really consider taking full advantage of the 3-tiered pension system. Mimi, can I put you on the spot to just give us a brief overview of what the 3-tiered pension system in Ghana is? Hi, Mimi, if you are speaking, you're muted.
Hello. Yes, sorry. So basically, the 3-tier pension system in Ghana came to replace the old system where all we knew was SSNIT. So with this one, we have 3 baskets. We have SSNIT, which is the tier 1. We have the tier 2, which is managed by trustees, including corporate trustees, and the same for the tier 3. So with the tier 1, initially SSNIT used to pay a lump sum and a monthly pension, but there were some labor agitations that, people retire and they go home with so little. So we decided that we would change the system. So now SSNIT pays only monthly pensions. So whereas in the past they used to pay lump sum and monthly pension, so when you go on retirement, they'll give you 25% of your benefits as a lump sum payment, and the rest of the 75 paid over a period. Now they pay only monthly benefits. Initially, we used to contribute 17.5%. Now it's reduced to 13.5% because they are no longer catering for that lump sum anymore. And SSNIT is a defined benefit. That's why a lot of the time when people are complaining about SSNIT is not using the money well, blah, 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 they are like, this is not an issue, because a defined benefit means your benefits are defined. If I should know how many years you are contributing to SSNIT, the average of your best 3 years salary when you are retiring, that's if you're taking an early retirement or you are retiring at 60, I should be able to tell you that this is the benefit that you'll be taking. Initially, SSNIT didn't have like an insurable salary. You could insure your salary no matter how high it was. But I believe that it's also because of sustainability, and because people were working the system, they wouldn't contribute much. And then when they are going on retirement, then they start, putting in more effort. So they decided to cap it. I think last year was 42,000. This year I know it's 54 or something thousand. I would have to refresh that. So if you earn beyond that amount, you cannot contribute the additional amount. You cannot contribute to SSNIT on the additional amount. You have to pay it into your tier 2. Then we have the tier 2. So the tier 2 is going to take care of your lump sum. It's basically 5% of your basic salary that is remitted to a trustee on a monthly basis. For some big companies, they have their own they have their own pension funds, and so they would have their own board of trustees. But for most companies, we have what we call corporate trustees. There are more than 20 of them, so you have to choose which one you want to go with, and your employer, not you, the employer will have to choose, and the employer will remit to them 5% on a monthly basis. Now, this is a defined contribution. So what they do with the money matters more, because your benefits are based on the contributions plus the investment gains or losses. So if you should take your statement now, it means that if you were supposed to retire today, that balance is what will form your lump sum. That's basically what that means. Now with the tier 2, even though we have what we call corporate trustees, we also have other players. We have the fund managers. They are supposed to give investment advice as to where the trustees, should place the money. We also have pension fund custodians. They hold the assets of the scheme in custody, keep it sort of safe. So they settle payments. Let me not go into details. So all these people are to ensure that, your pension funds are well managed. Now, with both SSNIT and Tier 2, you can't take it on unless you are retiring. And retirement in Ghana is 60 years, but you can take an early retirement at 55 years. If for some reason you have achieved financial independence at age 40 and you want your SSNIT, you can't have access to it. If you have achieved it at 50, you can't have access to it. You have to hit 55 going, then you can have access to it. For Tier 2, if you are 50 years and you are unemployed, and you go to the labor department and you're able to prove that indeed you are unemployed, you can have access to your Tier 2. For all these schemes, if you are medically incapacitated and it's proven, you're also able to have access to your pensions. I remember a while back, they said, since their youngest retiree was 27 years. So these are some of the benefits that sometimes they don't highlight. But if anything should happen to you, and the last 36 months before the thing happened to you, you've contributed for 12 months within the 36 months, you would earn pensions. Even though you are 27, you earn pensions till you die. So these are some of the benefits that they don't highlight. So back to the Tier 2. Tier 2 will pay you a lump sum, and as I said, it's your contributions plus your gains or losses. Then we have the Tier 3. So Tier 1 and Tier 2 are mandatory. Your employer is supposed to do it for you. The truth is that a lot of employers are doing the Tier 1, especially the SMEs, small companies are doing the Tier 1 for SSNIT, because SSNIT is quite aggressive with prosecuting, employers. So they try to do that one so that they won't have trouble, but they are not doing the Tier 2. So if you work with a small business, even some of the big businesses that are not so compliant are not doing. So it's very possible you may retire with, monthly pensions and no lump sum. So please check with whoever is in charge whether it's being done for you. So these are mandatory. Then we have the voluntary, which is the game changer, because when you look at the Tier 1 and Tier 2, you see that you are paying 18.5%. Initially, you were paying 17.5%. There isn't really much of a difference. There's the lump sum and the monthly pensions, not much of a difference. But Tier 3 is a game changer. Here, you can contribute up to 16.5% of your basic salary pre-tax. So you're able to save up on taxes. With this one, your employer will choose, a corporate trustee of your choice for you to contribute this to. Even though it's 16.5, you can do 5%, you can do 10%, you can do 16.5, you can even do 20%. But anything beyond 16.5%, you pay taxes on the difference between the 16.5% and whatever percentage you are doing. Under the Tier 3, we have provident funds and personal pension. Provident funds are employer facilitated. Normally, the employer would say that, I like you so much, I want to do something for you. I'll pay maybe 5%, you bring 10%, or bring 11.5%. We'll contribute it on a monthly basis. And based on this, we'll set what we call vesting rules as to when you can withdraw. If you are dismissed, you get nothing. Like the rules as to how the fund operates when you can withdraw and all that. There are cases where it's just the employer doing it, very rare, and there are cases where it's just the employee doing it. So all that is available. Now with the Provident Fund or the Tier 3, you can use it as a collateral for a loan, and you can also use it to apply for your primary mortgage. Then we have the personal pension. So for those who don't have that arrangement at work and you still want to take advantage of the Tier 3, you can do the personal pension, but it becomes advantageous if your accountant decides to deducted before your taxes are slapped onto the rest of your, your salary. A lot of the time they are unwilling, but if they are, then you can also take advantage of the tax benefits. Now that would also give you a lump sum at retirement. With the tier 3, because it's voluntary, you can withdraw before retirement, but I normally encourage people to keep it invested. And because from my experience working in the pensions industry, it's really a game changer. And even if you want to withdraw from tier 3, keep it invested in something that is towards your retirement. So it should still be an investment that's still towards your retirement. Maybe you don't like the scheme that is in, but you can convert it into something that you are working on towards your retirement, rather than using it to buy a car or a house and not replacing it. Because if you are like the average Ghanaian, it may come back to bite you. So that's the summary of the 3-tier pension scheme. I think I left.
Thank you so much, Mimi. That was a very good summary of that. Chief Producer Dennis, please. This part, we need to separate it for a special feature on YouTube. This one has to go everywhere. What Mimi just said has to go everywhere. I have not heard anyone. In fact, I've not heard Mimi herself say it so eloquently before. Mimi is growing bigger and bigger. It's an honor to have her among us. So yeah, I like that explanation. Okay, great. A few things I just want to add on that in case you guys didn't catch it. The tier 3 is the game changer. When so one of my the employees in an organization I'm a treasurer for, when I'm doing her payroll, every year we review it if there's an increment in salary, right? And I say, look, just keep adding to your tier 3. You are not near 16.5 yet. Keep adding. And every time we add, the taxes go down. Every time you add, the taxes go down. The more you pay in tier 3, the less you pay in taxes. So, if you are of the opinion, I know many people are frustrated with the governments, whether it's this government or any other. People have always been frustrated with governments, and you feel like politicians are always eating the national cake and not leaving you with anything. This is one way that the government has said that we got you. Just contribute and we will make you pay less taxes. So when you sum everything up, Mimi, correct me if I'm wrong, but it comes to up to about 32.5% of your income that goes without being taxed, right?
35%.
Boom. Thank you. So up to 35% of your income can be set aside before you are taxed. Now imagine two scenarios. You can be taxed on 100% of your income, or you can be taxed on 65% of your income. You tell me, which of them do you want? And all they are saying is, for you to get this tax benefit, just save your money for the future. Don't touch it until you retire. So that when you retire, you can go on trips to Cancun and Lumun and Paga, Crocodile Pond and Kakum and all those fancy places that you want to go. All they are saying is, take care of yourself so that we won't have to take care of you when you are old. And for that, we'll give you a tax break. People, take advantage of this. The 3-tier pension scheme. Talk to your accountants, talk to your HR, ask for statements. You should be asking for statements every 6 months, if not every quarter. SSNIT actually sends the statements monthly. Get registered on their portal. Find out how much you've been contributing. You know, you have to keep an eye on these things. Make sure that your tier 1, that SSNIT, is being paid with evidence. Make sure that your tier 2 is being paid. Ask for evidence. Find out your statement. And the tier 3, start. Of course, when you start making these contributions, if your take-home pay was, let's say, 2,500, yes, it will go down. You will take home maybe 2,300 or 2,200 or even less. But that money is forcing you to save for the future. You have one less problem to worry about. You get me? So I strongly encourage you to do that, to take advantage of the 3-tier system. Adam, you are here representing the masses. I see that you've been doing a brilliant job on the replies, just summarizing the stuff that Mimi was saying. I really appreciate that, and I see that it's getting some traction, some eyeballs are on it. But do you have any questions as a representative of the average Ghanaian?
I wanted to ask Mimi, why is that when she said about some accountants being unwilling, if it is someone's right, why should somebody be unwilling to take, like I'm talking about the tier 3, where she talked about some people being unwilling to make it such that like to deduct that before your taxes are charged. I mean, what are some of the obstacles that, like, or what is the reason? What should be anybody's reason if a worker has that right, that advantage to take that opportunity to take advantage of and get lower taxes? Why should an accountant or whatever, finance officer or something be resistant to that? I just want to, it's surprising to me. I just want to find out why.
Why should the accountants be standing in the way of your destiny? Yeah, before Mimi jumps into one side, my first thought as I heard this question is, have you not met accountants before? No offense. I love my accounting friends. Okay. But usually the finance department can be known for frustrating people. But I think this is a call for action, actually. As your question brings up a call for action, and I'm looking at Paulina. You understand? Paulina, drop an emoji if you get where I'm going with it. We need to be educating people to start motivating or putting pressure on the finance managers and the accountants to start doing the needful. It's our right, and we need to collect it. But Mimi, from a more professional standpoint, what's your take on resistance from accountants and finance people?
I think because it's like only you, and it's like an additional task. So for me, I think that if you can find a way to encourage a few people in your employees in your company to do, and encourage HR to rather have that arrangement so that it's not voluntary for those who want to do it, they do it. That may be better than you going alone. As I mentioned, the employer doesn't always have to contribute. It can only be, it can be 100% employees, so that it's more of an institutional arrangement.
Good. That's good. So try to get a critical mass so that you can go and advocate for it. But fair one, remember that you'll be reducing people's take-home pay. So try to be more convincing and empathetic to people. And if you need some guidance about how you handle that conversation, and even for yourself, if you still not been able to wrap your head around what's going on here and why do I need to contribute this, listen, there's a friend waiting for you. Get on Instagram, look up investment friend. You heard how Mimi explained this thing eloquently. When you get on investment friend, you follow, and then you send a DM, and you join the community. Mimi and Sarah would be ever willing to sit down with you to explain things with you, to talk about your financial plan, to see if there are any gaps. If there's any money you are leaving on the table, they are your friend. They are your investment friends. They are ever willing to help you. So get on Instagram and look up at investment_friend. All right, investment friend. They are willing to help you on this and any other issue related to money and investments. They have a lot of challenges, really exciting stuff going on there. Great. A reminder as we start wrapping up, okay, we are talking about SSNIT. Let's not forget the full name of SSNIT, Social Security. Hence, the government is, sponsoring it to make sure that the whole society has some security, all right? Social Security and National Insurance Trust. Let's not forget that insurance part. Mimi mentioned someone who, some time back, SSNIT was saying that their youngest recipient of benefits is 27. During the press conference, the chief actuarial officer, I've forgotten his title, he said that the youngest is 32. I'm sure it's been 5 years since they told us 27. So that person, what happened is it's a medical benefits. The person became incapacitated, can't work. So he's taking the disability benefits. So when you contribute to SSNIT, if you become incapable of working due to some medical reasons, and it's cleared by doctors, and you go through that process, you can actually retire early. Of course, I don't wish that on anybody, but let's think about it. Imagine that something goes wrong in your life and you know that you have this cushion to fall back on. That's the benefit of insurance. Let's not forget that part about SSNIT. So that's been the conversation. The media started by spreading this sensational headline about SSNIT reserve being depleted in 2036, and SSNIT came out to explain it. They did not refute it, but they had a press conference. They're trying to explain how SSNIT is a defined benefit scheme. There would be gaps, and they talk about measures to fill up the gaps, and they explain that calculation where it will be depleted by 2036, it's based on a calculation based on what they are paying today, or as of the reporting year, 2020, all the payments that they had to make in 2020. If they had to make all those payments for the next couple of years without any contributions coming into SSNIT, nobody is making any monthly contributions. How many more years can they last with the reserves that they have? And that's how they came up with the 2036. But we all know practically, SSNIT is continuing. SSNIT is continuing to receive contributions. They are trying to expand the number of people who are making contributions. So at least there's some certainty. As to how they manage the funds, the invested funds, that's a conversation for another day. I don't think we want to have that conversation here. But we just want you to understand the whole pensions scheme better, understand your options, the 3-tier pension options. You can see the replies. Adam has summarized what Mimi so eloquently said. And this conversation will be recorded. We have a link to the SSNIT press conference. Please go listen to it. If you have friends who have not listened, they can listen to the press conference, and they may not even have to come back to Money Convos, but of course, come back because we've added more. And go on YouTube, look up Money Convos on YouTube. Wherever you listen to podcasts, search for Money Convos. You'll see the playback over there, played back. Get on Instagram, Facebook, here on X. Just follow us, share the word, let somebody know. Our goal here is to make sure that in some years to come, we are all financially independent, and we wouldn't have to rely on anyone else. And as we also strive for financial independence, it will be good that we share the word so that other people around us will be financially independent as well and will not be dependent on us. There will be way less burden for all of us. So I just go to Mimi to see if she has any closing words for us, and then we can call it a night. Mimi, any closing words?
So for me, I told you, I'm biased. I'm biased towards SSNIT, and for me, it's because, to be honest, the situation in Ghana with the average Ghanaian retiree, even with SSNIT, it's not pleasant. So if we are here fighting and saying we won't do it again, okay, what is the average Ghanaian able to save? Let's seriously ask ourselves. The truth is that for most people, almost nothing. I remember when I was in the pensions industry, having 50,000, like someone being able to retire with 50,000 lump sum, tier 2 and tier 3 added, was a flex. To be honest, was a flex. 100,000, even a bigger flex. But that's coins. How long will that money sustain you? So if we are saying that based on, whatever we've heard, we are not going to do it again, I believe that is to, it's just for our own benefits that I would tell people that do SSNIT. I've seen people who didn't do it, especially self-employed people who thought that their business will sustain them, and life happened, and they couldn't even afford the basic things in life. So for me, SSNIT is like a cushion. It's not going to make your life, it's not going to give you that comfort, travel around, do those kind of things. It's not going to do that. But so that you wouldn't fall on the ground, just do the SSNIT. And as much as you can do, make sure that you get the best out of it, by making sure that you are contributing for as long as possible. You are contributing on a decent basic salary. And if you haven't planned towards your retirement, you are retiring at 60. So do these and then ensure that you have a decent retirement. For those who are very disciplined and those who, by the grace of God, have access to more resources and would want to say, I don't care about SNITs, that's fine. But for the average Ghanaian, I don't even say the average Ghanaian, for 99, maybe 95% of Ghanaians, I think they need SNITs. So let's be careful of what we make of the information out there. Rather, for me, I would say that don't rely solely on SNITs, seeing the information that we have seen, but by all means, do the tier 1 and then add the other things, because it does make a difference. It does.
Thank you for the word so sweet, Mimi. So for me, I would say you don't even have a choice. Mimi said it's in your favor. Please, it's law. I don't want my people to go to jail. So please contribute to SNIT tier 1. Please contribute to your tier 2 because it is a legal requirement. And then do add that game changer of tier 3. This is your opportunity to get a piece of the national cake. You get your income to go without being taxed. Yes, Mimi.
Sorry, someone has requested that we talk about how public sector can take advantage of the 3-tiered pension scheme. And so with the public sector, because government is the employer, I know government is only doing tier 1 and tier 2, but now controller has that feature where you can contribute to the third year or provident fund or a personal pension pre-tax. So you can reach out to any of the trustees. At least I can vouch for Axis. You can reach out to Axis as a public sector worker and say that you want to contribute towards the tier 3 and you want to your deductions to be made from controller. They will take care of that for you. I'm sure there are some other trustees that can do that as well. But as I said, I can vouch for Axis. So.
Great. That was a good one. In fact, thanks for catching me. I just realized someone has sent a message in the DM, so I'll just read it real quick before we go. But to reiterate, government workers, you also have an opportunity with this. So it's not just the private sector. Please do take advantage of this. Everyone, once you are working, you are earning income. Even if you are working for yourself, there's an opportunity for you to take care of this. For you to take advantage of this. So don't leave it behind. In fact, Papa Sam, if you could join me up here, there's a question that I know that you would be eager to answer. So feel free to request the mic so that we take it on together. So this question is asking, if the younger generation have to contribute for the older generation to benefit, isn't that a Ponzi scheme? What do they use our contributions for? Isn't it supposed to be invested so that it generates enough to support you during retirement? Okay. All right. So let's break this into a few pieces and then we digest it. So I totally get the frustration, and a lot of people, when we explain to them that social security is an intergenerational promise, it sounds like a Ponzi scheme. I totally get it. A Ponzi, what is a Ponzi scheme? Money is coming in to fund money that is going out. Okay, that's fair. Ideally, with any investment, you would want to make sure that the money that is coming in should be invested sufficiently so that the return on the investments, the profits that you make on the investment, is what would be paid out to you later. However, the way social security around the world, not just Ghana, the way social security around the world is structured, it's supposed to be partially funded. And this is what happens. Let's look away from just pension, okay? It's about policy, public policy. We set up a government to take care of things that will benefit everybody. And we know that public goods don't benefit everybody all at the same time. For example, there are people in the village who don't get to benefit from the good roads in Accra. They have manholes as roads, okay? But they would be paying their portion of taxes, ideally, in a normal way. Eventually, it will get to them. So the government agrees that, okay, this is an area that is important to us and we care about our people. So we provide certain resources like potable water, good electricity, or hopefully they'll try. They would also provide hospitals. In the US, there are very few hospitals outside of the military hospitals that are owned by the government. But when you take a country as young as ours in Ghana, a lot of our hospitals are owned by the government. These are all public goods. All right. So what the government in thinking about social security is that people can't work forever. So what is something we can do? Well, are we going to take care of them when they retire? Because people will be falling sick. They will say, pay for this, pay for that. We're already doing national health insurance and all that. Well, it's going to be a tax on the government. Too much for them to pay. And remember, if the government is paying for it, it's all of us who are paying for it. So the government would say, well, people, why don't you help yourselves? And we'll give you a tax break for helping yourself. And if you helping yourself is not enough, then we'll plug the hole. Okay. So that's where it comes in. Now, Ponzi scheme, the part of it being a Ponzi scheme. Yes. Part of, imagine this, even with the normal mutual funds that have ongoing benefits coming in and out. We don't always go and break investments or liquidate investments to pay people withdrawing. We match the money coming in with the money going out so that we don't have to break any investments. Because if you have to keep breaking investments, that means you can't do long-term investments. Long-term investments are what will earn you higher returns. For example, SSNIT is the largest holder of land banks in Ghana. They are the largest single owner of land in Ghana. They can't just keep going to, okay, well, this piece of land that we've bought, we are going to sell a piece to go and pay pensioners this month, right? So they match what's coming in and out. Okay, so that's part of the reason. And it's really just a social construct. There are many things that the government will do that may not make economic sense, but for social cohesion, they have to take those decisions. Papa Sam, I know you have some thoughts on this. What do you want to say?
Hi, Elkem. Can you confirm if you can hear me?
Loud and clear, my brother.
Okay. So, I just want to, I think you said largely what I wanted to say, but I want to emphasize the fact that the SSNIT, the tier 1, especially, it's a form of, it's a tax. Honestly, it's a tax. It has been structured as a tier 1 so that it motivates us to pay it, because then we feel like the tax sort of match to ourselves. It's something that we are paying for our benefits in the future. Unlike a normal tax where we understand that we pay it, it goes into a consolidated fund, and then the government decides who to benefit from it. And sometimes we don't benefit directly. It has to go to somebody else for some people, they believe that they are paying for other people's laziness and also all that. So in its formation and in its primary objective, it's another tax, and the aim is to redistribute the income to take for strategically important investments. And these investments may not necessarily be investment that give us direct financial return. So, for example, Adenta SSNIT flats were built by SSNIT to plug a housing crisis. Sakumono Estates and Sakumono Flats is a SSNIT investment. Now, yes, we can. I think that I agree with many people who say that the investments we are looking at, we look at the SSNIT finances and their balance sheets, the investment they do not serve as well. Yes, I agree with that, and that's a conversation we can have separate from the fact that because the investments SSNIT are doing with the money that we are foregoing today. If the fact that if those investments do not pay financial return, it may impact our ability to get this insurance or this sort of guaranteed benefit we are supposed to get for being for working and for being part of the labor force and contributing for like a long time. So that let us not allow any government right now, any future government to come and give us this excuse as a reason not to pay pensioners. It's not an excuse. The pension system, the tier 1 pension is a guaranteed thing. Government should and will be able to pay it every time to all pensioners. And then we can separate the conversation and see that we think that what SSNIT is doing with the monies right now are not socially beneficial. The investments are not. We think the investments are not. They are not strategic. They are not helping the public in any way. And we can ask for answers in that direction without linking it to the fact that it will impact the ability of future pensioners to take their benefits. So that's what I can add. And yes, it's a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, Papa Sam, a tad bit more cynical than me, but you hit the nail on the head. I like the perspective you bring. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a tax. It's a tax. If anything the government is paying, they are able to, anything the government does for us, they are able to afford it because they taxed us. They collected the money from us so that they can give the money back to us. And this time they are doing it in a nice, creative way called social security. So it's plain like that. All right, let's hear from Mimi. Mimi, what's your take on this question?
Yeah, I remember in the press release, SSNIT mentioned that if they were supposed to invest their monies in treasury bills and probably do some sort of annuity, it would be able to pay only up to 11 years, if I can remember rightly. And so for those who are thinking, okay, why don't we do it the other way around? Know that it's to your disadvantage. I just wanted to add that.
Very good point. That particular thing, I know me and my Oga in the audience. Sometime back, we looked at some pension contributions, not exactly tier 1, but I think those were tier 2 or tier 3, to see if we had invested it on our own versus we had let the institution invest it for us, and we came up to different numbers. So, well, I don't want to contest on that, but according to them, they said if that money, if you think it's going to do something, it's really not going to be sufficient for you anyway. So they far out. They do way better for you through SSNIT than if you had invested that particular money on your own. He said that they had done actuarial, it's empirical, not academic. That means it's based on actual evidence. They had me Googling and using ChatGPT to understand those words. Empirical. So they use the database that they have of people that they've been paying for so many years, 3,000 people, to make these calculations. And they said if you had used the contributions for T-bills, it would last you only 11 years. But they can guarantee you 12 years until you die. So there you go. All right, guys, this has been really good. Thanks, Kwame, for sending that question through to us. It's inspired more conversation that people have been educated by. I really appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you, Papa Sam, for joining. Edem, for making yourself available. Thank you, Prodigal Mimi, for coming back to talk to us. And thank you for Paulina for pushing us in the back to communicate properly. We hope that all this good education that we are gaining, we will be able to translate them into good education for people. Let's direct people towards good information. Let's not rely on 30-second TikToks and WhatsApp status. Let's encourage people to listen to these long-form conversations where we explain things in depth. And you can look at the replies to the tweets for this space. The full press conference is there. Go listen to it. I like that they do not debunk anything. They are just explaining. And you can come back here to X to play back this conversation, or go on YouTube, play back the conversation. Wherever you listen to podcasts, play back the conversation there. And while you are here on Twitter, when you get on Facebook, Instagram, just follow us there, show some support, and share with other people. Let people know that they can get good information here. And if you have more questions, which I'm sure you have, and you are thinking about the next steps to take, we have a friend for you, Investment Friend. Get on Instagram. Before you get distracted, hit the magnifying glass icon, search for @investment_friend. All right. And get some help from Mimi and Sarah. They will explain everything to you beautifully. You join a community of people supporting. Just today we're even discussing moves that we are making with the money, with people who are trying to save money by the end of the year. The community is very vibrant. Join the community so that you become financially independent. All right, guys, I really appreciate your time tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your week. And Pani, on the side, I see a reply. Guys, there's fun going on in the reply, so do check it out before you leave. All right then. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook. And subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.